Start with a flea flicker to open up the night. And he connects with Galladay.
Sup, everyone? It's Timmy B, and welcome to the Flea Flicker with Joey D and Timmy B. Today is our Week 14 picks, and we're joined by one of our good friends and the co-host from Eric Sawyer on Splain Life Comedy, Mr. Tyler Antonelli. Tyler, how are you doing this morning, bud?
What's up, gentlemen? I'm doing fantastic right now. Life is good. NFL football is rolling. We are hitting the end of the season here where games really start to matter. So I'm excited to come on here and pick some games.
Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
Glad to have you.
Absolutely. And we, like I said, we had Eric on a couple of weeks ago, and you are the co-host of Splain Life Comedy. So let's see if you can give a little bit of a better elevator pitch for some of our new listeners and some of our recurring listeners. What is your elevator pitch for Splain Life Comedy?
Splain Life Comedy is a revolutionary media company that is turning the comedy game upside down. Currently available on all forms of social media. That's as far as I can get on an elevator pitch. I don't know. So it's me and Sawyer. It started out with a podcast, and then we just craved more and more. And so we started putting out videos on YouTube. That got that got some traction. We had a ton of fun with that. We finally broke down and got on TikTok, even though we were like, I don't want to go to TikTok. That's the young man's game. We're too old for it. We got on TikTok. It's my new favorite thing of all time. So if you guys are on TikTok, be sure to check us out, Splain Life Comedy. We put out like 2 or 3 TikToks a day. They're all high-quality comedy, the best stuff you can get. Check us out on YouTube. Check us out on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere you get your social media content, you can find us.
Absolutely. We're going to put their links in the descriptions. These two are the 2 oldest people on TikTok, so definitely go check them out. Joe, man, how are you doing? Looks like you got a festive holiday sweater on.
Oh yeah, gotta represent. Eagles are trash, but I got an ugly sweater. I'm pretty much the ugliest sweater you can find these days, and it does light up. So whenever the Eagles score a touchdown, which is few and far between, bang bang, we're good to go. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to light it up much this year, but going to a ugly Christmas sweater thing tonight. So I already had it on. Felt like, got to represent during the pod.
Hey, ugly sweater for a beautiful person. And Tyler, you are a Kansas City Chiefs fan. Is that correct? Can you tell the fans of how that became? Clearly, when we met you many years ago, you were still a Chiefs fan. So this is no bandwagon thing. So congrats on the Super Bowl. But tell us a little bit about your background being a Chiefs fan.
Yeah, so been a lifelong Kansas City Chiefs fan since 2004, really. It all started because I had Madden NFL 2004, great game, the one with Michael Vick on the cover. And I used to play, me and my next door neighbor would just play that game for hours and hours. And he would always take the Atlanta Falcons, who had Michael Vick, obviously, and they were unstoppable. The only other team that could beat them was the Kansas City Chiefs because they had Priest Holmes, Dante Hall, Trent Green. I think Tony Gonzalez might have even been around on that team. So they were the only offense in that game that could keep up with them. So I just by default would always use the Chiefs, and then just kind of always, day in, day out was using them, started watching them. They were fun for like 2004, 2005, and they went through 12 years of just being hot garbage. Then they drafted Patrick Mahomes. Now we're back. Life has never been better for Kansas City Chiefs fans. So I'm riding high on football right now.
Yeah, I bet you are. Joe is not riding high right now. I'm kind of in the middle ground being a Ravens fan. But let's just hop into Week 14 of the NFL season. We did finally have a Thursday night game. We have the Los Angeles Rams beating the New England Patriots 24-3. Very lackluster second half, but the Rams were running the ball. Cam Akers had about 180 yards rushing. I went bold. I went with the Patriots. I went with Belichick. I thought this was a game that they would really solidify themselves making the playoffs. They did not. Joe, you picked the Rams, so we'll kick it off to you. What were your thoughts from Thursday Night Football?
Yeah, going into it, you just look at that Rams defense and how many rushing quarterbacks they've really been able to shut down this year between Russell Wilson, Kyler Murray, and just really take that part of their game away. So we didn't really see that much of an impact from Cam in the ground game. They don't have the weapons on offense to really separate and make some plays on their own. So I never really saw their offense getting going. And that's what ended up happening in the game. They only put up 3 points, and, while that Cam Akers, he had a really big game. I bet a lot of fantasy managers are riding high going into the playoffs right now with him.
Yeah, I had Cam Akers in a few leagues. I thought he was going to break out, and then when he got injured and wasn't playing, I dropped him. So definitely regret that a little bit. But Tyler, any thoughts from this Rams-Patriots Thursday night game?
Yeah, I don't know if you could call it so much of a game. This Rams team is one of the sneakiest 9-4 teams I've ever seen before.
Yeah.
And an absolutely suffocating defense. And, you could have told me they were 6-6 because I don't feel like they get any media coverage or anything, but they're 9-4. You can't do anything on that defense who I have on my fantasy team. What's up? And the Patriots, they have just enough going on with, they play good coached football, but there's just no offensive rhythm to that team. They have no passing game. They have no identity on offense. They're not, they just don't produce enough points to be a legitimate contender. So I don't see that Patriots team making noise or making the playoffs going forward.
Yeah, honestly, this is the perfect scenario because everybody was worried that the Patriots would really tank and then get Trevor Lawrence or one of these top quarterbacks. Mm-hmm. But now it looks like they're probably going to go 8-8, get pick 16 or 17 just right in the middle of the first round.
Yes.
So, I mean, as a Ravens fan, I've been there before where in December it's like, we might make the playoffs. Then we go 8-8. Then we end up with just a middle first round pick, so not good at all. But guys, let's hop into week 14. We have a full slate of games. Everybody has done their bye week, so let's hop into the first game. Coming off a bye in week 13, we have the Carolina Panthers. They are hosting the Denver Broncos. Panthers are a three-point favorite right now, and the over-under is set at 45. Tyler, you are our guest, so we'll let you go first. What are some of your thoughts from this game, and who's your pick?
I love this Panthers team, by the way. As you guys know, I grew up in North Carolina. I'm a Chiefs fan myself, but I'm surrounded by Panthers fans. And there was some discussion about whether Matt Rule was going to be a good coach or not. Coming into this season, I feel like a lot of experts were predicting the Panthers to be one of, if not the worst teams in the NFL. And if you look at their roster, I mean, they don't have a lot of juice on that roster. But Matt Rule has kind of pumped a little bit of energy into this team. And, they're only 4-8, but they've been competitive in a lot of those games. And then on the other end, you have the Denver Broncos, who just no idea what they're doing at quarterback. You have wide receivers tweeting shots fired at their QB and then, quickly deleting them. So there's no rhythm in Denver, whereas I feel like the Panthers are kind of feeling themselves even for a 4-8 team. So, my gut's telling me go Panthers here. I would say Panthers in the under, though.
Panthers and the under, perfect. Joey D, thoughts, and who's your pick?
Yeah, like Tyler said, I mean, both these teams are kind of similar in terms of the fact that their defenses are really what, is gonna take this team to the next level or not. I mean, the Broncos have already had, some really strong defensive performances this year. Vic Fangio is a defensive guy. We've talked about the Panthers drafting all 7 of their draft picks as defensive players. And, we've seen that impact with Jeremy Chin and those guys. So I think this is going to be a defensive game, probably a low scoring slugfest. McCaffrey's not going to play again. So, we'll see with Mike Davis. They had a couple other people on the COVID list. I think Curtis Samuel's been activated. I don't think DJ Moore is going to play, though. I think he's still on the COVID list, if I remember correctly. So I do think it's going to be a low-scoring game. But like Tyler said, the Panthers just have a lot more energy, a lot more juice. I really like what I've seen from Matt Rule and just the vibe that they have going right now. Whereas on the Broncos side, like I said, with their offense, I mean, there's just so much, turmoil going on with Drew Lock, Jerry Jeudy, all of these other guys. Like, I just don't know what I'm going to get week in and week out with that offense. Which, a lot of people had high expectations for. So right now I'm going to go with the Panthers. I think they're just the better team right now and just a little bit more of a complete team overall.
Yeah, I'm going with both of you guys with the Panthers. I think Tyler nailed it. It's a tale of 2 different 4-8 teams. Seeing 4-8 on the Broncos, you're like, it's a little bit of a disappointing season. A lot of people were picking them to be, at least competitive. But on the flip side, you see a 4-8 Panthers, and you're like, all right, good for them. They're getting some wins. They got the mojo going. No Christian McCaffrey again, but I think that the defense is young. They're going to contain Drew Lock in that offense. Then on the other side, Vic Fangio has a great defense. Will come up with a game plan, but I like the Panthers a little bit more, especially being the home team. So we all got the Panthers in this game. Now we're going to their division rival, so to speak, and the other team coming off a Week 13 by Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers hosting Kirk Cousins and the Minnesota Vikings. The Buccaneers are a 7-point favorite. The over-under is set at 53. Joe, we'll kick it off to you because you love Kirk Cousins. Thoughts from this game, and who you got?
Well, it's not a primetime game, so Kirk Cousins may actually be able to show up. So we'll see what happens there. But it's a tough game because I just feel like the Bucs have been underperforming the last few weeks and haven't been that dominant and as great as we expected them to be, while the Vikings have, kind of over-exceeded expectations a little bit, compared to the way they started the season off. So I could see this being a pretty close game. It really just depends on if Dalvin Cook is going to be able to get cooking or not. This Bucs defense has been inconsistent this year. They're very highly touted. They have a lot of big name players now, and the spotlight's been on them all year, and they just really haven't lived up to that. So I think they're going to struggle to contain Dalvin Cook. I think it's going to be a really good game. I'm going to go with the Buccaneers, though, because I trust Tom Brady way more than I trust Kirk Cousins, as we know.
Absolutely. Tyler, thoughts and who you got in Vikings Buccaneers?
Yeah, I like Vikings to cover here. You said the spread was 7. I like them to keep it a 1-score game here, but I think in the end, I think you have to go Bucs at home. I've really enjoyed watching this Vikings team this year with Dalvin Cook and Justin Jefferson out of nowhere. They have the weapons to be an elite offense, which is awesome. But the defense has been bottom 10 this year, whereas, Tampa Bay's defense has been inconsistent, but even on their bad days, they've been mediocre, to say it. So, I kind of like these offenses as a wash. I think they can kind of compete with each other, but I like the Tampa Bay defense to hold the Vikings, whereas I don't know if I trust the Vikings defense as much to contain Tampa Bay, especially in Tampa Bay. So give me Tampa Bay. Give me the Vikings with the spread, though.
Yeah, I'm going with the Buccaneers as well. I think Tom Brady having 2 weeks to prepare for this Vikings secondary is a huge factor. No matter who the wide receivers are, they are going to light up the scoreboard. And on the flip side, the Vikings almost lost to the Jaguars at home. They lost to the Cowboys at home recently. So they've been playing close games against bad teams. The Buccaneers are not a bad team. Coming off a bye, this could be that 3-4 game stretch for the Buccaneers where they really establish saying like, hey, we're not winning the division, but we are going to be the 5 seed. We are the best wild card team in the NFC. We're going to go on the road to the NFC East team and win and go to the second round of the playoffs. So I got the Buccaneers as well, but this is a game where I'm not surprised that the Vikings do pull it out. I think in the last month, Kirk Cousins has a great touchdown interception ratio. I think it's like 17-3 or like 17-4. So he has been moving the ball quite well, especially to Justin Jefferson, a great rookie wide receiver that was right there for the Eagles to draft, but they just didn't do it.
I'll light it up for that.
Light it up for that. But we're all moving on with the Buccaneers. Next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cowboys are actually a 3-point road favorite on the road. Over-under is at 43. If Joe Burrow was playing in this game, Bengals would win by a lot. But I'm going to go with the Cowboys for this just because in my fantasy league at work, I'm playing a guy who is a diehard Bengals fan, and I have Andy Dalton as my quarterback. So I hope Andy Dalton lights it up. I beat him in fantasy to move on in the playoffs to win some money. So I'm going with the Cowboys. Tyler, how about yourself? Thoughts on who you got?
The Andy Dalton revenge game. The game we've all had circled on our calendars for months now. Yeah, I mean, if Joe Burrow's playing this game, I think it's an easy choice. I think you have to take the Bengals here, but that team's just been absolutely deflated. God, what a fun rookie quarterback to watch. I love watching him play. And now it's a huge chunk of the NFL season has just been swept away from us. So give me Andy Dalton fired up against the team that, gave up on him in the heart of his prime. Let me get Andy Dalton to light it up. I'm picking Cowboys over Bengals 48-20.
Hey, wow. That sounds great for my fantasy team. I would love to see that.
Andy Dalton drops 5 touchdown passes on him.
Oh man,
hey, love to see that. Joe, are you picking the Cowboys? I can't imagine you are.
I want the Cowboys to actually win this game so that it can help the Eagles out with the draft pick. I think right now the Cowboys would be drafting number 4 and the Eagles would be drafting number 6. And we know the Eagles are going to lose to the Saints, so spoiler. With this game, I think it's actually going to be a pretty good game. I mean, just simply because of how atrocious this Cowboys defense continues to be. I mean, I know it's a backup QB that they're playing, but they just cannot stop anything. I mean, they're not playing with discipline. It seems like these guys don't know the scheme. I really don't think that this defense is going to be able to, even though it's the Bengals, I think that the Bengals offense is going to be able to put up some points against the Cowboys. I think the Bengals are going to pull it out. I'm going to go with them.
All right. So Joe's on the Bengals. Finally, we're going opposite now.
Exactly. I also want some variety.
You want some variety. But now we're moving to, I don't want to say it's a quarterback controversy, but another team that whiffed in the draft. Houston Texans and Deshaun Watson are a 2-point favorite on the road to the Chicago Bears, a team that could have drafted Deshaun Watson, could have drafted Patrick Mahomes, instead drafted Mitchell Trubisky, traded up from 3 to 2 to take him. Over under is at 46. Joe, we'll kick it off to you first. Texans, Bears, thoughts on who you got?
Yeah, this is the first time Deshaun Watson has ever played Chicago. I think that's, such an interesting storyline. When he was asked about it, he said that they just didn't even really show much interest in him and, did not really do many meetings and evaluations leading up to the draft. I find that hilarious. I think Deshaun Watson is just going to come in and, just have a chip on his shoulder. And I think he's going to have a really good game against Chicago. And we know what the Chicago offense is. I mean, whether it's Trubisky or Foles, it's inconsistent at best. And at worst, it's, an absolute liability, just giving up points to the defense. So David Montgomery has been pretty good these last few weeks. I think that's going to be the big key. If he's able to keep the ground game going and make things easier on his quarterback, then maybe they have a shot. But I don't think so. I think the Texans are going to be able to pull this one out. I don't think it's going to be that close.
I agree with you. I think Texans are going to roll. I think Deshaun Watson's going to have a great game, and it's going to be this is why you should have drafted me game. I know our team's not good right now, but I can still put up stats and kick your ass. Tyler, how about yourself? Texans, Bears, thoughts on who you got?
If you ever want to fire yourself as a GM or you're trying to get your GM fired, go out in public and say, yeah, we didn't even really look at this generational talent. I love it. What a horrible decision.
Unreal.
I think Deshaun Watson, he's not the Aaron Rodgers type to go out and be like, oh, I want vengeance on every team that didn't draft me. But it's got to be in the back of his head that he's going up against, this moribund Chicago Bears team that, decided to start Nick Foles there for a while over their first round pick, the future of the franchise. The Texans defense does nothing for me, and really the Texans roster outside of Deshaun Watson does nothing for me. But I just, in good conscience, I can't pick the Chicago Bears to ever win a football game, especially riding this 5 or 7 game losing streak they're on right now. This team they have no direction. They're horrible. I don't enjoy watching them ever. I do enjoy watching Deshaun Watson. So I gotta pick the Texans to clean up here. And I think I agree with Joe here. I don't think it's a particularly close game.
Yeah, you said it too about the GM thing. I mean, Deshaun Watson, national champion, in the running for the Heisman for a couple of years, just lighting it up in Clemson. Patrick Mahomes was lighting it up in the Big 12. The team wasn't as good, but he was still, throwing for 5,000 yards and a bunch of touchdowns. Right. Instead, they're like, we're going to go to the guy who just started 13 games in his, junior year, senior year. And the team wasn't even good. They were like 6-6. Like UNC wasn't good.
A middling UNC football team, right?
Yeah. Golly. So maybe the Bears are doing a clean sweep this offseason as well, like some other teams that we're seeing. And now we're going to move to a game that a month ago we all thought would probably just be a blowout, a washover. But now the Giants are on a win streak. They are leading the NFC East. The Arizona Cardinals are sliding a little bit, kind of getting back to that average 500 mark that a lot of us thought that they would be at. But Cardinals are a 2.5-point road favorite at the Giants. We'll kick it off to Tyler. Thoughts on who you got in Cardinals, Giants, over-under is 46 as well.
This one's tough, but I mean, I know the Giants are feeling hot and they're fighting for their division right now, but I don't see this team doing a lot against Kyler Murray, DeAndre Hopkins. I know Arizona's almost been disappointing this year, which is weird to say because I don't think expectations were super high for them, and they are 500. But I think this is kind of a get-right game for them. I see them taking care of business. I think if you just look pure talent-wise, I think they have more talent on that roster than the Giants do currently. So, when you got two teams that, similar records, kind of similar season so far, give me the team that just on paper looks better. Give me the Arizona Cardinals here.
All right. Cardinals. Joe, thoughts on who you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to go in the complete opposite direction, Tyler.
Oh,
sorry,
fair enough.
Respect my elders, but this Giants team these last few weeks have been playing lights out. I mean, this defense has been outstanding. What they just did to Russell Wilson and DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, I don't think that can be understated or overstated enough. I mean, this is like you said, on paper, this team should not have this good of a defense. This team should not still be competing for a division title, but they are playing so well right now. Joe Judge has these guys coming to play week in and week out. And then on the flip side, you look at the Cardinals, they've lost 4 of the last 5, and the one that they did win was the Hail Mary to DeAndre Hopkins against Buffalo. Mm-hmm. They should have 5 losses in the last 5 weeks. I'm going to go with the Giants. They're riding high right now. They're hot. I think they're going to be able to slow down Kyler Murray in that offense just like they did against Seattle last week. And whether it's Daniel Jones or Colt McCoy this week, I mean, while the Cardinals defense, they're not great. They do a lot of different creative things with their blitz packages and sub formations. But I think that the Giants offense, they're going to be able to do just enough. It's going to be a close game, low scoring game. I'd probably take the under if I was betting in that one. But yeah, I think the Giants are going to be able to squeak this one out.
Yeah, I really want to pick the Giants because you nailed it, Joe. Their defense is great. I think they're one of the best deep coverage teams. And I was talking to my friend who's a Seahawks fan. He goes, we're playing a top deep coverage team, and all we're doing is running streaks. No wonder we couldn't be moving the football. So I think this is going to be a big Larry Fitzgerald game on the under, right in the middle, short slant, and we'll let him run around. So I think DeAndre Hopkins will be contained a little bit, but this will be a Larry Fitzgerald game. I really want to pick the Giants, but I'm going to go with the Cardinals as well, just because I think the Cardinals are the better team, like Tyler said, on paper. Plus, this could be wild card weekend. This could be the matchup wild card weekend if the Cardinals do get that 5 seed and the Giants do win the division. And that game, I might be picking the Giants just because I think it's a good story seeing like the 7-9 or the 8-8 division leader taking on a team like the Cardinals and beating them. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals this time, but if they meet again in January, probably going to go with the Giants. So I'm going to go with the Cardinals on this one. And the next game we got on the slate is the Tennessee Titans. After coming off Joe, last week we said it would be a blowout against the Browns and the Titans would win. It was the opposite, but then the Titans did come back. They're on the road at the Jacksonville Jaguars, who's been playing good football recently. Titans are a 7-point favorite on the road. The over-under is set at 52.5. When these teams played in like week 2 or week 3, the Jaguars put up 30 points on this defense. Joe, is this going to happen again, and are the Titans or are the Jaguars going to pull this off?
God, let me just say that I started the Titans defense in fantasy last week. They got me -2 points, and I lost by 1 point. If I had not even played a defense, I would have won. So I'm pissed at the Titans right now. Derrick Henry got like 5 points in that same game. I mean, my God, dude, like, come on. So, I think this is a game they should win. Like we said at the beginning of the year, we thought they would roll over the Jaguars. The Jaguars are playing really good football right now, and the Titans are kind of teetering. I think it's going to be a close game. I think the Jaguars are going to be competitive throughout this game, but I think the Titans are going to be able to find a way to get the win ultimately.
Yeah.
But I'm not happy with them at all, though.
I predicted the Jaguars would go 1-15. They still have 1 win, so I got to go with the Titans until that is still in play. Tyler, how about yourself?
I know you almost lost it. You almost lost it.
I almost lost it. And you picked the Jaguars too.
I picked the Jags, and they were winning. They should have won. I'm so pissed.
All right, but Tyler, Titans, Jags, thoughts on who you got, man?
Yeah, this Jags team is horrible. I don't care how well they're playing. They're still 1-11. They could be the best 1-11 team ever. You're still 1-11. Looking at the season stats, it's interesting that the Tennessee Titans defense, which we have historically thought of as like a pretty good defense, is not that much better than the Jaguars defense. They're both pretty atrocious, actually. But I never pick. One of my lifelong rules is just like never pick a 1-11 team to win a football game. You're playing a dangerous
It's a good
game,
rule to live by.
Yeah, I live by that rule. I go out on a limb for that one, you know? So, yeah, give me the Titans. Division games are always weird. I expect it to be a close game, but, you know, when has this Jags team ever proven that they can pull out a close win or, you know, get a 2-minute drill going and win a game at the end? They can keep it close, but they're not winning this thing.
Yeah, that makes sense. And now it's time for the final 1 o'clock game. Probably one of the biggest games of the day now. We have the Kansas City Chiefs, Tyler's Kansas City Chiefs, on the road at Miami Dolphins, a game that, you know, a month ago you're like, whatever. But now you're like, okay, dope. This is a good game. Chiefs are a 7-point favorite. Over is 50.5. Tyler, the Chiefs are your team, so we'll let you have the floor first. Thoughts from this game as a Chiefs fan? And I guess you're going with the Chiefs as your pick.
Yeah, I'm going to go Chiefs 52-14.
Wow.
Okay, maybe not that bold, but no, this Chiefs, so the Miami team, their offense has been lackluster all season. You know, they tried the Tua Tagovailoa thing, kind of hit or miss. I think Fitzpatrick is expected to start in this game. Correct me if I'm wrong there, gentlemen.
You're probably right, sure.
I think so.
Right.
I know Tua's dealing with that foot, you know, that injury or whatever it was that he's got going on. We'll never know if it's a real injury or not, but the offense doesn't move the ball very well. This team relies on their defense. Here's the thing, though, is when you're playing the Chiefs, you can have literally the greatest defense of the last decade. The Chiefs are still going to put up at least 30 on you. It's just what they do. You can stop them for 4 straight drives, and then out of nowhere, they'll just score 3 touchdowns like it's nothing to them. So, you know, the way to beat this Chiefs team is I think, to have an offense that produces just as well as the Chiefs offense does and try to beat them out in a shootout. I don't see Miami having the firepower to get that done. And, you know, as great as this defense is, I don't think they can hold down the Chiefs for 60 minutes. So give me the Chiefs. I think they'll cover as well. But I think it'll still be a great game to watch.
Yeah, and you said it too. The way to beat the Chiefs is just simply outscore them. And we've seen that with the AFC West. I mean, the Broncos got Drew Lock. They drafted Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. The Chargers got Justin Herbert. So these teams, the Raiders got Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, Henry Ruggs. They're getting weapons because they're saying, like, hey, look, like, you know, when the Raiders beat the Chiefs, you guys still put up like 33 points. So that's how you beat the Chiefs, is just scoring 40 or more points. I'm going with the Chiefs is why I think this is going to be the okay, so Dolphins, you think that you're a contender? All right, settle down. You know, we'll show you what playing a playoff contender and Super Bowl contender is like. I think Chiefs roll in this game. Patrick Mahomes is going to go off again. The question is, who's going to be the weapon? Who's going to, you know, be the Tyreek Hill or the Travis Kelce putting up those 150 yards and 2 touchdowns? It's always a good question to ask for the Chiefs games. Joe, how about yourself? Chiefs, Dolphins, thoughts on who you got?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a lot more to say. Like you guys said, you got to be able to just score points pretty much every single drive to be able to beat this Chiefs team. I will say, if the Dolphins defense is able to capitalize on their turnovers, and assuming they're able to get some turnovers, which I think they should still be able to generate a few in this game, if it's in situations like, you know, on the goal line and they take it the other way for a touchdown, you know, flip that script, you know, say it's 7-0, Chiefs are about to score, now it's 7-7 all of a sudden, you know, something like that. You know, it's just all about the situational football, I think, in this game. You know, how many stops can they make on 3rd down and which parts of the field? I don't think they're going to be able to do it. I do think there are some opportunities to keep this a closer game than people would expect. But, yeah, like you guys said, you know, this Chiefs offense is unstoppable. I mean, you can maybe slow them down at points, but, you know, like you said, you go 3 drives and nothing happens, and then 3 more drives, then Tyreek Hill, 50-yard touchdown, Travis Kelce, 40-yard bomb, Clyde Edwards-Helaire takes off. You know, you just never know with the Chiefs offense who's going to go off. You just know someone will, and they'll put up points. So it's going to be the Chiefs, but I think it's going to be a really fun game.
Yeah, Tyler said it too, that this could be a close game, and then all of a sudden the Chiefs go up 2 touchdowns. I think that could happen. I think it could be like 17-14 at halftime, and people are going to be like, ooh, okay, the Dolphins, and then all of a sudden it's 31-14. You're like, oh, okay, never mind. So I think that's definitely how the game can go. But that wraps up the 1 o'clock slate. Now to the late afternoon slate, we're starting with the Jamal Adams revenge game, I guess, with the New York Jets heading all the way to Seattle for the Seahawks. The Seahawks are a 13.5-point favorite. The over-under is at 47. Joe, last week we said Seahawks were a 10.5-point favorite against the Giants. end up losing. But are they going to go back-to-back and losing to New York teams?
I don't think there's any way that they can lose to the Jets. I mean, no, there's no way. The Seahawks are going to win this game. They've got to bounce back. I mean, they've just been sliding downhill from for the last few weeks now, and they got to get back on track. You know, we're in December now. This is when Russell Wilson and Pete Carroll, Chris Carson really just turn it up a notch and, you know, just usually have a hot streak going into the playoffs that they're able to ride. So I think this is a great game to get right, get back to normal. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Russell Wilson all have a big game. I think they win this very easily and hopefully ride that momentum out for the rest of the season.
Yeah, you said it best, Joe. It's a get-right game for the Seahawks. Jets aren't playing bad ball recently, but I have the Seahawks winning this one. Tyler, how about yourself?
Yeah, the Jets don't even warrant any of my time. I refuse to talk about teams that are this bad. Give me the Seahawks. They'll probably cover as well. Jets are god-awful. They're normally losing games intentionally. So
that's normally how Jets games go. We're just like, okay, so this team next.
Yeah.
And then speaking of next, we have a great game in the AFC. This is a huge game for the wild card and for one team in the division. The Indianapolis Colts are a 3-point road favorite going all the way to Las Vegas to take on the Raiders. Over-under is 51.5. We'll kick it off to Tyler first. Thoughts on who you got in Colts Raiders?
I'm really excited for this game. Actually, this is one of the best games on the schedule this week. You have two teams that are pretty even. They've been consistently pretty good with a random really good game here and there, and then a random really bad game here and there. Mm-hmm. So it kind of depends on, you know, what version of each team are you going to get. I like this Raiders team at home. That offense has been really steady all year. Darren Waller has kind of been the breakout tight end of the year. Josh Jacobs has continued to do Josh Jacobs thing. And Derek Carr is closer, not quite but there, but he's closer to his MVP year self than he is to his, you know, his recent year garbage dump, you know, trash can fire self. So he's playing well. This Raiders team is playing well. You know, Colts are a good team. You know, also when we kind of get Phillip Rivers going back, fighting against an old AFC West team, but Phillip Rivers is just a statue back there. He looks so old and decrepit. I can't in good faith pick him to win a football game, despite how well they're playing. So let me get this young, frisky Raiders team over a arguably better.
Yeah, this one is such a tough game for me as a Ravens fan because we're in the wild card battle with these two teams. We had the tiebreaker over the Colts. I'm not sure. I don't think we have the tiebreaker over the Raiders because we lost to the Chiefs. They beat the Browns. So I don't know who I want. I don't know if I want the Raiders to win to have us all be even and then have some sort of 3-4 team tiebreaker, or just have the Colts win, kind of not eliminate the Raiders, but put us a game ahead. So based on that reason, I'm going to go with the Colts alone, especially because last 2 weeks, the Raiders basically lost to the Jets last week and then got blown out in Atlanta a couple of weeks ago. So I'm going to go with the Colts. I can't trust the Raiders right now, so I'm going with the Colts. Joey D, how about yourself?
Yeah, that's kind of what it comes down to for me as well. I mean, like Tyler said, these are two very similar teams. You know, they've kind of had very similar seasons. So the way the last few weeks have gone is what it really comes down to for me. And like you said, they did not deserve to win that game against the Jets. You know, this defense definitely is an issue right now. I mean, when you're allowing that many points to how many did they allow to the Jets? It was over 30, right?
It was I think it was 24-27, I think is what they scored.
Something like that. It was close to 30. But either way, I mean, you're going up against the Jets and you're allowing that many. And, you know, you should have lost that game. And then, you know, like we said the week before that, Atlanta, you know, your offense comes out and doesn't do anything and your defense allows a ton of points then. You know, and now on the flip side with the Colts, this defense is legit. I mean, Darius Leonard is one of the best defensive players in the NFL, along with DeForest Buckner. Their rookie safety, Julian Blackmon's having a really good year. Xavier Rhodes has been a really good pickup for them. So that's what it comes down to me is that I like the Colts defense and I don't like the Raiders defense. So I think this Colts offense is going to be able to get a little bit more going against the Raiders. Whereas I think the Raiders offense is going to struggle a little bit more against this Colts defense. So I think the Colts are going to be able to get this win. I think it's going to be a really good game, though. It could definitely go either way.
Yeah, it's going to be a good day of football. I think there's 7 1 o'clock games and 6 4 o'clock games. So we're going to have a lot of football. We're going to be a lot of watch. Red Zone will definitely be on for most of the day since the Ravens play on Monday night. And now it's time for a game that I couldn't find a line on a couple different websites. So I guess there are some potential positive test questions with the Packers at the Detroit Lions. But I don't think that really changes. As long as Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback for me, I'm going with the Packers in this game. Tyler, how about yourself? Packers, Lions, thoughts on who you got?
Yeah, I agree. This Packers offense is playing at a whole different level than most other teams right now. So there's no reason to pick against them in any game, especially against a Detroit Lions team that's, oh, look at that. They're 5-7, and they're going to probably end up 7-9 for the 24th time in the last 25 seasons. There's nothing special about this Detroit team. Give me Aaron Rodgers to just light it up and drop 40 on them.
All right. Yeah, I think it's going to be ugly. Joe, thoughts on who you got?
And like I said, this Detroit team is the most average team that, we know of. So I've been saying Detroit 8-8 all the way. I love it. So I saw the Packers play last week against the Eagles. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams just have such a great connection right now. I don't think it's going to be close. I don't think there's a lot that needs to be said about this game. The only way you beat the Packers is be able to run the ball effectively and keep the ball out of Rodgers' hands. And this Lions team, even though I think DeAndre Swift is back this week, they're just not consistent running the football. So even though this is a game where they could be able to run the ball well, I just don't think it's going to be consistent enough. And I think Aaron Rodgers is going to have the ball a little bit too often, score a little bit too many points for this Detroit team. But it is a divisional game, so it could be a weird one. But, yeah, I mean, Packers are just a good team, and Detroit is just at best an average team.
Yeah, well, I said 5-11, so hopefully the Packers win to help that out with the Lions. And now this is, in my eyes, the most interesting game of the day. We have the Atlanta Falcons, a 1-point favorite on the road at the Los Angeles Chargers. The Chargers always find creative ways to lose games. The Packers just blow big leads. So who's going to lose this game more? It's not so much who's winning. It's like who's going to lose this game. Joe, we'll kick it off to you because you always say the Chargers find creative ways to lose. So Falcons, Chargers, who you got?
Yeah, that's what it comes down to for me again. I mean, just it's been the same theme that we've seen all year from the Chargers, and they haven't flipped their coach or changed that much. I mean, it's the same team even with Justin Herbert playing well. They just find ways to lose. So, the Falcons, they've had a rough year. They've had some rough games. I mean, they've got an interim head coach right now, but they're still fighting. They're still competing, and they're finding ways to win some of these games. So I think the Falcons are just, the more, even though they had their head coach fired, they've still got a veteran core and, a veteran team there. I think they're going to be able to find the way to win, and the Chargers find the way to lose. But I hope Justin Herbert does well. I have him in fantasy in the playoffs this week. My God, he had 4 points last week.
Oh, wow. All right, Tyler, Falcons, Chargers, thoughts and who you got? Yeah, I'm going to just kind of go on a soapbox here a little bit. I love this game because it's two teams that are historically bad at finishing out games. It's so fun. I think Anthony Lynn is the worst head coach in football right now. I don't understand how he still has a job. Every single year, the Chargers, every preseason, everyone's like, oh, this is a Super Bowl team. They're incredible. Anthony Lynn finds a way to ruin all of that potential and take the team and go 4-12. He has no clock management skills. He's clueless out there. He's wasting away the best years of Chargers football. And I hope this team does the right thing and they don't let him continue to, develop Justin Herbert. I hope they get somebody who can actually utilize Justin Herbert to win football.
Doug Peterson.
Whoa.
That's where I think he's going to go next year.
I don't hate that. I think a Super Bowl victory, warrants Doug Peterson an extra year in Philly, but Philly's a ruthless town. I don't know if they'll be so kind and gracious to him.
I don't think they are. I don't think so. But I think that would be a good spot for him to go, though, and kind of get his career back on track.
Yeah. They did the same thing to Andy Reid and, whatever. I guess it
exactly.
kind of
worked. That's what's going to happen again.
Right.
I know. We did eventually get the one, but, it's probably what will happen again.
Right.
We'll probably hire Eric Bieniemy as our head coach and do this all over again in a couple of years.
life is time is a flat circle, my dude.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Back to the game at hand, though. I think the Chargers are even better at losing games than the Atlanta Falcons are. The Falcons haven't had quite as consistently embarrassing games since Raheem Mostert took over. Give me the Falcons to actually pull one out, weirdly enough as that is to say.
Yeah, I'm going with the Falcons too. I wish this game was like a playoff game where overtimes are infinite, because this game might never end. This could easily be a tie too, with all these teams just blowing leads and finding ways to lose. But I think the Falcons are a little bit better. Even without Julio Jones, they still have the offensive weapons with Calvin Ridley, Hayden Hurst. So I think that the Falcons are just going to pull this off. And hopefully Anthony Lynn gets fired, because I like Justin Herbert. I like the Chargers uniforms. So hopefully they can bring in somebody good, Joe. And now it's time, baby. It is time for the sweater to be alive.
Here we go.
Jalen Hurts is the starting quarterback for the Philadelphia Eagles. The Saints are coming into town. The Saints are a 7-point favorite. Over under is 42.5. Joe, we'll kick it off to you, man. This is your time, baby. Saints, Eagles. Thoughts and who you got?
Yeah, this is going to be rough. I mean, we had to make this move. Wentz has been just so bad this year, and he threw it. It's not doing him any favors to keep him in there. I don't know what I want to see in this game. I mean, if Jalen Hurts does terrible, then QB is still a question mark. Maybe we have to draft one in the top 5 this year. If he lights it up like the shirt, then then okay, great. Now we have we have 2 QBs, one on a cheap contract, one on a super expensive contract, and we got to figure out a way to make it work. It just creates so many questions. So I don't know what I want to see, but I don't think it's going to be pretty, because the Saints defense has been playing really, really well these last 5 weeks. I don't see this offense being able to get on track, even with the change at QB. Jason Peters is now out for the year, so we'll have I think this is our 12th different offensive line combination. So that's great that Jalen Hurts gets to start in his first game ever behind 12 different offensive line. We're still forcing Alshon Jeffrey out there. We're going up against one of the best defenses in the NFL. I don't think this offense is going to be able to get going. I think it might get ugly. Something I don't think a lot of people are talking about. I think this defense might be able to contain Taysom Hill a little bit more and keep it a little bit closer than we could expect, especially in the first half. But again, I just don't see this offense being able to be consistent. I think we will see a little bit more life, a little bit more, first downs, a little bit more of a spark, because Jalen Hurts just gives you that ability to, take off. He's managing the pocket better than Wentz is right now. So hopefully, we can see just a little bit more excitement. Last week against the Packers, when Jalen Hurts came in, he threw that touchdown on 4th down, and then Jalen Reagor had the punt return for the touchdown. It really felt like the whole team had a spark. And for, 5 minutes, I was like, oh my God, like I'm excited for Eagles football again. This is fun. And then, it all went downhill spectacularly, of course, with that 77-yard run by Aaron Jones. So it'll be something like that for sure. They'll probably give me a little bit of hope, make me a little bit excited, and then, dash all my dreams. And, it'll be a terrible, terrible finish to this game. So with that, I will unlight my sweater and let you guys go on. But Saints are going to win this game big.
Perfect. Tyler, thoughts on who you got in Saints Eagles?
Yeah, first, apologies to Raheem Morris, the Atlanta head coach, not Raheem Mostert, as I mentioned earlier. So confusing, those two. This game, I'm going to take the Saints to win it. Doesn't matter who's starting for the Eagles right now. This Saints team, their defense is incredible. I think Taysom Hill is just week in and week out getting more and more comfortable in this offense, and he's kind of starting to figure it out. They're just the far superior team. I will say, Joe, and I want to ask you, this Carson Wentz thing, because I haven't talked to any Eagles fans about it, it's one of the most intriguing NFL storylines I can remember in a while, of a promising, younger quarterback that just out of nowhere, it seems, completely falls apart. Is there a phantom injury he's dealing with, or is it the offensive line and the inconsistencies they've had, or is it his weapons around him that they're just not in sync?
I think it's a couple different things. Some people are talking about Maybe he's still suffering from the concussion he got in the playoffs last year, and it's just affecting his way to process. I don't know how much I buy that since it was, in the playoffs last year. It's been so long. What I really think it is just, these last few years we've had so many injuries at receiver. So he's not been able to develop rapport with anybody, any chemistry, and then he also loses trust in his receivers because everyone that's been in, they're not running the right routes. They're not catching the ball when he does put it in a good spot. He doesn't trust his receivers. And now on top of that, he doesn't trust his offensive line. The O-line has just been a turnstile this year with so many injuries there. So he doesn't trust his protection. He doesn't trust his receivers. He's trying to play hero ball. And the other thing that we just don't really know is with the play calls, how much of these calls are being checked, or how many of these calls that Doug Peterson makes are being checked at the line of scrimmage by Carson Wentz. Because at the beginning of the year, there's a lot of talk about Wentz having so much control over this offense to the point where it was like with Peyton Manning with the Colts, where he can make all these different checks and, just make his own calls at the line of scrimmage. So I have not liked what I've seen out of the play calling this year. I have not liked the deployment of players like Alshon Jeffrey over Travis Fulgham, like Jordan Howard coming in to play last week off the practice squad, and we don't use Miles Sanders. So Doug Peterson deserves a lot of blame, but I don't know how much of the play calling is truly on him, or is it Wentz changing the play? So it's a whole bunch of different things. I think it's just these last few years. I mean, they've all been so spectacularly bad in a certain position that he's had to compensate for it so much, and now it's just all bad, and he's just imploding. I mean, he doesn't trust what he's seeing. He doesn't trust himself. He doesn't trust the coaching. I really think that the whole team has to be blown up and started from scratch, and we got to get ahead of this. So I want us to trade him to the Colts or the Bears. I think those are the two most likely spots. And hopefully Jalen Hurts can, be something, be a cheap quarterback, and we don't have to spend a top 5 pick on a QB this year. But I just don't know what Jeffrey Lurie thinks. I think that he's going to stick with Howie Roseman, and they're going to bring in a coach that, in their minds, they're going to pitch, I can fix Carson Wentz this year. Because we're hamstrung with him with his contract. We're stuck. So I don't know, Antonelli. It's a whole bunch of different things. I could talk about it for days. I went a little off tangent there.
I love it. Passionate about the 4-8 Philadelphia Eagles.
3-7-1, good sir.
Oh, excuse me, 3-7-1. Ooh.
Yeah. I'm going with the Saints in this game as well, obviously. But my big thing is with the quarterback situation is that if Jalen Hurts lights it up and does well, now the Eagles are thinking, okay, like we obviously need some pieces. We're now 4-8-1 after beating the Saints, but Jalen Hurts is lighting it up. Maybe we're closer than we think. And then it's like, how do we get rid of Carson Wentz in this contract? And then if he struggles a little bit the same way Carson is, it's kind of like, okay, like we know we need pieces, but now we need like a lot of pieces. So I think it's a good game to see.
That's the same. It's just the same. I'm sorry to cut you off, Tim. It's just the same thinking that I think got the Eagles in this position in the first place. You look at last year, we won the last like 4 games, but it was against like 3 NFC East teams and someone who's not, I think the Texans last year or something like that, someone who wasn't that good.
Sure.
We win the last 4 games. We sneak in the playoffs at 9-7, and we lose in the first round. The year before, we had a bad year and we needed to rely on like, I think the Vikings losing a game and winning the last 4 games of the season. We sneak in the playoffs and we beat the Bears in the playoffs with the double doink, a game we should have lost. I just feel like these are such hollow victories where the team looks at like, okay, like we did good. Like we can, if we add like a little bit, we're right there. We're still a Super Bowl contender. But right now, this roster is old. This roster is expensive, and this roster is not talented. And those are the 3 worst things that you can have as a team. So, like I said, I think you got to blow it all up. You got to get ahead of this, and you can't just fool yourself into thinking off of, okay, Jalen Hurts had his first game, and he had a good game. Now teams have film on him. I mean, the Saints haven't played any Russian QBs this year. I think it's like Teddy Bridgewater and Justin Herbert. So he could have success. But I just think you got to look at it. If you look at it in a vacuum, and then, okay, yeah, maybe this team can contend, like, a couple games. But then you take a step back, like, this is not a good team, and we can't fool ourselves into thinking that we got to go full rebuild right now and stop, just putting ourselves in this position, more so for the future.
Well, Joe, if that's your Christmas wish, you better be a nice boy in these next couple of weeks so Santa Claus can give you the Eagles full rebuild. And now we're moving to the team that could actually win the NFC East, and the Washington football team. After the Giants go on the road to beat the Seahawks, the football team beat the undefeated Steelers on the road in a game that, Joe, we said if this was not a 4-7 football team, we might have picked them to beat the Steelers, and I wish we did pick the football team. They're on the road again at the San Francisco 49ers, or I guess in Arizona, but playing the 49ers. 49ers are a 3-point favorite, and the over-under is set at 43.5. We'll kick it off to Tyler. Thoughts on who you got in football team? 49ers.
So many great storylines in this game. You have the Alex Smith revenge game, going back to the place where he originally lost his starting job. You just have the Alex Smith story in general. You have, Washington coming off beating an undefeated Steelers team. And then on the other side, you have this, patchwork San Francisco 49ers team that's just being held together with thread at this point, not even playing in their hometown. They have to, go a state over to even play their football games. It's just a weird time to watch an NFL football game with a lot going on. I have been in love with this Washington football team this year, and to see them bounce back, to follow the Alex Smith thing. But I do think they kind of get a bit of a hangover here coming off of that Pittsburgh game and then traveling out to the West Coast. The 49ers haven't been an elite team this year, and they're dealing with a ton of injuries, a ton of things going on with that team as well. But I don't see the football team having the talent to put together back-to-back monumental upsets. Not that this would be monumental, but I do think it would be a considerable upset for them to win this game. I don't see them doing it in back-to-back games. I'm rooting for it, but I got to pick 49ers here.
Yeah, I'm going to go with the opposite of you. The thing that comes down for me is the football team has a great front seven. They have a great defensive line, and the 49ers are a run-first team with Raheem Mostert and Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, end-arounds and everything. So I think that they're going to contain the run game. So then it's like, okay, now Nick Mullins needs to win with his arm, and he just can't do that. The football team and Alex Smith's offense is doing just enough, as we saw against the Steelers. Hey, all they need is 23 points with this defense that they got. So I'm going to go with the football team to win this game. Joey D, how about yourself?
Yeah, I think you nailed it, Tim. I'm really surprised that the 49ers are the favorite in this game. Mm-hmm. It's Nick Mullins. Like, this guy is a bad quarterback. Like he's not good, and they don't even have George Kittle. So this front seven, like you said, Tim, they're so good. I think they're going to be able to just make life miserable for Nick Mullins. He's not going to be able to do anything in the passing game. I mean, they're going to be on him so quick. This offensive line for the 49ers is also vulnerable as well. So I think the Washington football team is going to get this win. I think that the offense, like you said, is going to do just enough because it is a talented defense in San Francisco. But like I said, what it comes down to is that front seven versus Nick Mullins. And I think that's just a mismatch, highly favoring the Washington football team. So, yeah, I think that they're gonna get this. And I don't think it's going to be that huge of a win. I mean, I think it's a game they should win because on paper, this matchup is favorable for them. I get that the 49ers last year were in the Super Bowl, but, there's no Jimmy Garoppolo, there's no George Kittle, there's no Nick Bosa, no Solomon Thomas. I mean, this is not the same 49ers team that we saw. This 49ers team lost to the Philadelphia Eagles, for crying out loud. So, yeah, I think the Washington football team get this, and I think that this momentum is really going to help. I think it's going to be a really fun finish to the end of the year. I love to see the football team and the Giants kind of make this division look a little bit less pathetic.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, probably the winner is going to go 7-9, which is fine, but that's very respectable. People were thinking 5-11 or 6-10. And what Antonelli said, I would really like the 49ers to win this game because one of my fantasy teams, I have a bye, but George Kittle's just sitting in my IR. So hopefully he can return next week. But if they lose and maybe get eliminated, maybe they're just like, all right, whatever, like Kittle just sit out the rest of the year. We'll come back next year. So if they do win and Kittle comes back, that only helps my fantasy team win some money. And now we're going to move to the team that the football team beat. Sunday Night Football, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers, no longer undefeated, thank God, going to Bills Mafia at the Buffalo Bills. The Bills are a 2-point favorite. The over-under is set at 48. Tyler, kicking it off to you, Sunday Night Football. Steelers, Bills, thoughts on who you got?
Give me the Bills, baby. This Steelers team, I mean, they're not their record. They've kind of been outperforming, they've been underperforming, I should say, what their record is. This Bills team is good. I mean, they're really good. I think Stephon Diggs has been a huge addition to that offense. They're playing well. Defense could be better, but it's there. And this Steelers team they just seem fragile, and they just seem like they're vulnerable. I mean, they lost to, a 5-7 middle of the road Washington football team. And so give me the Bills. They just feel better. This Steelers team is all ego, I think, and I think they've kind of had it broken. I think you kind of start to see them break down. I think you kind of start to see them overthink some things, and I think the Bills team just takes care of business here.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm going with the Bills as well, and this is a game that I really wish we had fans at. I went to the Ravens-Bills game last year in Buffalo around this time, and it was so much fun. Bills Mafia was amazing, great tailgate, great atmosphere. And this was definitely a game that they circled along with the Chiefs Thursday night game. 2 big games at home in prime time. And I think in a couple weeks they play the Patriots on the road on Monday Night Football. But I'm going with the Bills in this game. I mean, like we said, Joe, and even Antonelli, the Steelers the last couple of weeks haven't looked good. And they're still a good football team. They're going to be one of the top 2 seeds in the AFC. They'll probably make it to the AFC Championship game, if not at least win their first round game. But I like the Bills, and it all comes down to which Josh Allen are we going to see. We've seen him struggle a little bit, but we've seen him be an MVP candidate. And I just think that the Bills defense is going to handle Ben in that offense a little bit more. The Steelers defense is great. The Bills are going to win. Going to be a close one, I think. This could definitely be like a 20-17 last-second field goal type of game. Last year when they played, I believe it was 17-14 Bills winning. So I got the Bills as well. Joey D, thoughts on who you got in Steelers, Bills?
Yeah, I think this is going to be a great game. It's a tough call. I think I'm going to go with the Steelers in this one. I think that
mistake.
This. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I mean, I like the variety, but also I just feel like Mike Tomlin is such a good coach, is what it comes down to for me. And I just feel like last week was it was embarrassing for them, and they have to get over that. I think that they're going to be mad. They're going to be pissed off. I think that. Hopefully it gives them a little bit of humility. Like, yeah, we're not the best team of all time. We can lose to anyone any given Sunday, and we got to respect everyone. I think this defense is going to have a really good game against Josh Allen. I think this defense is going to remind everyone why they're one of the top units in the NFL. And I think that Josh Allen's going to make some really bad mistakes against them that are going to really turn the tide of this game, like a Minkah Fitzpatrick pick 6. Or TJ Watt fumble recovery, something like that. I just feel like that's the matchup that it comes down to, because the Bills offense is good and they do have the firepower to put up points, but the Steelers defense is elite. I mean, they've got talent at every level. Tim, don't give me that. They're elite. They beat the Ravens, both times, right?
The defense is good. They are not elite.
I said
RG3 almost beat them. The defense isn't elite. The defense is good. The defense is good. It's not elite at all.
I don't know. We'll see. I think they're going to be able to – I think they're going to remind everyone why they are elite on Sunday night. I think they're going to have a really good game. It's hard to say if it's going to be like, does Josh Allen have a terrible game and it makes them look good, or does the Steelers defense – actually, do this to the Bills offense that has been rolling. But either way, I think that's going to be the matchup to watch, and I think that's what it's going to come down to. And then on the flip side, I think the Steelers offense they've got so many different guys they can go to there. I mean, while the Bills have a pretty good secondary, you can only slow down so many of these weapons on the outside, and they don't have a front 7 like Washington does. And yeah, I think the Steelers are going to be able to get this one.
I do agree with you. I do think the Steelers do need to make a statement game saying like, hey, NFL, we are, that 11-1, 12-1 team. That was a fluke loss Now it's time for Monday Night Football, and another very important game. We got my Baltimore Ravens, a 2-point favorite, a road favorite at the Cleveland Browns. The over-under is set at 47 or 47.5. Let me actually just double-check. 47 it is. So Ravens 2-point favorite at the Browns. Over-under is 47. Tyler, kick it off to you, man. Ravens, Browns, thoughts on who you got?
Timmy B, it would be disrespectful for me to come onto your podcast and pick the Cleveland Browns here.
Yeah, what the hell? Pick the Saints, no problem.
Yeah. So yeah. At some point, logic has to trump, courtesy here. But this is a pick'em game to me, as weird as it is to say, because I think we've all conditioned ourselves over the last 10 years to just say, Cleveland Browns are playing. Okay, it's over. What a joke. They're feisty this year. They're legitimately competitive. I mean, the offenses look good. The defenses look good. I think early in the season you could kind of write it off to some of their opponents, but they've had some quality wins, and I think you do have to finally give this Cleveland Browns team a little bit of respect. With that said, the Baltimore Ravens just know how to handle this Cleveland Browns team. And you see it all the time within divisions is one team has figured out the other team, and the other team just has no idea what the key to beating the other team is. And I think you've seen that with this Cleveland-Baltimore rivalry is even over the last year or two, as this Cleveland team has started to improve, they have never shown up well against the Baltimore Ravens. I think we see that trend continue. I think the Baltimore Ravens are still the big brother to the Cleveland Browns, and I think they walk away with a fairly easy victory here.
Yeah, I'm not going to say too much because I'm going to eat my words as a Ravens fan if I get too confident. But the Ravens are back, and I know it was the Cowboys and a bad rush defense, but when you're playing the 32nd rush defense and you're a top rushing team, you should be running for 300 yards, and that's exactly what we did. Lamar is back, a full week of practice now instead of just the walkthrough that he did for the Cowboys. The Ravens are going to win this game, obviously. My only concern is this could be like the Titans game that the Ravens played a couple of weeks ago, where we're going to sell out on the run with Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt, and Kevin Stefanski and Baker Mayfield, which is their bread and butter, is the play action. And I think that we could be a little bit vulnerable, especially in the second half with the play action like we saw against the Titans selling out on the run. And this is a game, like I said, with the Steelers statement game, this is a game where the Browns need to say, like, hey, NFL, like, we are 9-3, 10-3. We are a legit contender, because the AFC North played the AFC South, the weakest division, and the NFC East, the weakest division. So it's no surprise that we're probably sending 3 teams to the playoffs with the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers. So it's no surprise that we're seeing teams, 7-5, 9-3, 11-1. But this is a game, much like last week, where the Browns are saying, hey, NFL, like, we're here. We're ready to party. I know last year everybody thought we were going to the Super Bowl, but I think the Ravens are going to win this game. Not going to say a score. Not going to say it's a blowout. I'm just going to say we are in win now mode. It's January for us, so just win and move on. Doesn't matter how. We just need to win by 1 point, so I'm going with the Ravens. Joey D, how about yourself?
Yeah, I don't want to spend too much more time talking about the Browns, but yeah, I mean, the way they played last week was lights out against the Titans, especially just on their offensive side. But the Titans' defense is terrible. I mean, we were talking about, kind of what they've been throughout this year. They've been a lot worse than people, expected or given them credit for. And, I think that kind of, played into why Baker was able to have such a big game. I mean, now he's going up against this Ravens defense that, is a legit defense. So I think that if the Ravens are able to slow down Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt and really shut down that run game, then that passing game is not going to be successful like we saw last week. And that's what it's going to come down to. So I think the Ravens are going to win this game. I think it should be pretty easy. But if the Browns get that run game going, Nick Chubb has a big game, Kareem Hunt makes some plays, it could because I mean that's how you got to win. You got to be able to run the ball as well and just keep the ball out of Lamar Jackson's hands. So if they can play ball control offense, then they'll have a shot. But this Ravens defense is for real. So I think the Ravens are going to be able to handle them in this one.
Yeah, and that's how they beat us last year. It was 40-25. It was one of our 2 regular season losses before. I think it was after we played the Chiefs. So it was our last regular season loss, but Nick Chubb just ran all over us. And then we traded for Marcus Peters. We made a couple of moves, so we did that, and then the rest is history until January. So yeah, thank you guys for picking the Ravens. And Tyler, thank you so much for being our guest picker this week. Any final words on this week of the NFL season, or more plugs for Splain Life Comedy? You have the floor now.
Yeah, we're done with the NFL now. Let's get back to plugging my stuff. Yeah, guys, be sure to check out Splain Life. Look us up on Instagram, look us up on YouTube, look us up on TikTok, Twitter, all those social media sites. You will be disappointed. We put out good comedy content. And, we love our fans. And one day when we have made it big and we buy a couple of yachts, some of our more, dedicated fans will be granted access onto some of our yachts for some of our sweet yacht parties. So if you are interested in ever attending a yacht party and living life to the fullest, be sure to like, subscribe, follow us, comment, interact with us. Come join the fanhood and just have fun with it. It's a good time. And to both of you, thank you guys for having me on. It's been a real pleasure.
No problem. And if you are listening to Splain Life Comedy, you should know that there's going to be 2 yachts, and you want to be on yacht number 1. You do not want to be on yacht number 2. And then also listen to episode 59 or 60, the one that I'm on. It's pretty good. But Joe, any final words on the NFL season or this week in general?
It's going to be a really interesting week in Philadelphia after this game. Depending on how it goes, it just can really kind of shape the future of the franchise and who the franchise quarterback's going to be. So it all starts on Sunday. I'm excited to see how it goes, and I'll still be rooting for my Eagles, and still lighting it up whenever they make some good plays if that ever happens. We'll see.
Awesome. Well, Joe, you enjoy your sweater party. Hopefully you can light it up a little bit tonight. Hopefully it lights up tomorrow. Tyler, you enjoy the rest of your day. Everybody, enjoy this week of the NFL season, and we will see you midweek for our recap. Like, subscribe, comment, all that jazz. If you would like to be our guest picker, just do exactly what I just said. Go follow Splain Life Comedy. Everybody, enjoy some football. Good luck in your fantasy playoffs. Have a great day. We'll see you soon.